capacity. And so the ego world is associated with time. It's what stimulates it. It really gets into it. And so with time is a story. And so it gets into the story. And so then it'll hold you hostage and take you out of awareness because it doesn't understand awareness. It doesn't want you to be in there. Because a part of the ego makeup of our mind doesn't understand at all bliss, joy, wholeness, fulfillment, light, present moment. So then it starts pulling you into, oh, this, that, remember that story? Oh yeah, they did that to me that time ago.
This could happen.
Yeah. Or go future. It's like all of a sudden your days ended with some horrible story and you haven't stepped out the door. It's like ridiculous. But I loved it how they said that. It was like, ego does not understand awareness, so stay within awareness.
Yeah.
Which is the power of Chopra would talk about silence and all these other people. It's that consciousness that's looking at your thoughts and your feelings. It's like, and you start cultivating that, and then you create gaps within the thought and the mind and within your feeling. You're still having your feelings, you're still having your thought. So there's this whole thing, removing yourself from your thoughts and feeling, and then you become a zombie, not like feeling your life at all. You'll see a lot of spiritual people will go that way because they're becoming so removed that you seemingly feel like they're not responding emotionally to their world. So that wasn't the point in being aware. The point is like to be in the whole expression of what's happening in your life, but don't personalize it.
Right. I look at it as a balancing act for me personally, for my life, because we do need the ego. We did come here to play this game. But
then have fun with it.
And have fun with it.
It's like,
but we can't forget where we came from.
Exactly.
It's important not to forget where we came from, I think.
'Cause it's all about feeling good. You've got to free your mind. It's so good when the music gets you. Don't have to try. It's all about feeling good. You've got to ease your
So, I wanted to ask you about deaths in 2012, or now, or in general, and in the next coming years and things like that. People talk about
the doom and gloom of things?
Not the doom and gloom. I mean, of course there's that perspective, but even the people who have a positive perspective about 2012, which I do, assume or perceive that there's also going to be a lot of deaths. In other words, a lot of negative consciousness will be leaving and perhaps recycling, if you will. What do you think about that? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, well, I can speak from an indigenous point of view too, because there's so many indigenous people that have their prophecies connected into the Mayan reality and things like that. In the Mayan, they call it the Pachacuta, which is, they look at the universe as being fabric. And so if you actually look at the Milky Way, which is hard in New York, if you go out into the dark sky, you'll see a space in the Milky Way that's dark. There's an empty space there. So they call that the missing thread from the quilt that's come apart.
Okay.
And so what happened was, in their theory, that through the Industrial Revolution and all the process of humanity kind of fell from grace, as it were. And so this thread started to vibrate out of harmony, which is us. And so they say they don't know the ultimate, which is great, because nobody really does. I mean, when people start prophesizing an outcome, it's ridiculous because they're really stuck in their mind about a story. So, and so even if they're prophesizing, they're perceiving, their perception. So that's always up for grabs when people start prophesizing stuff. But the story with 1212 and Indigenous from Australian Aboriginals as well, and they are the oldest people on the planet now in Australia. They are the oldest Indigenous people here. And they said it's caring for others. It's the compassion that changes the field. And so the arcs especially are very much talking about the combination, like the 9-9 coming up, the 10-10, 11-11, 12-12, December 26 it is. It's not the 12th day of the 12th month even. And so they're saying that it's the morphogenic field of awareness that binds us together through consciousness is changing through people compassionately coming together. And so you see, the economical situation out here now, but you see people like on the news, 2020 or these shows saying, oh, they'll show at the end who's doing something wonderful for people on the local news, where they never showed that. It was all doom and gloom mostly. And then it's saying, oh, this is this person that's doing this for the community. So if that keeps going, that's going to change 12-12. It's going to shift. It's going to be either, we live in a dualistic world. I mean, so there's always going to be this negativity, but here's our opportunity to, come together.
Yeah.
Come together. So I think we'll just sail through it. Actually, I think it's going to be a wonderful experience. It's already happening now.
Yes, the Karen Anderson project has a new project out on compassion now.
Yeah. And so it's in the field because you can see people linking to the field without consciously realizing that the morphogenic field is changing. It's like the 1,000th monkey they talk about, right? It's like the monkey was opening a coconut on an island and the monkey saw and mimicked it. But at the exact same time in another island, another part of the world, the same thing is happening. Why? Because it's morphogenic resonance with the species. And so that's what's going on here. It's consciousness comes first before the doing.
Keep it together. Hit it!
Isn't it interesting how, not to totally change the subject, but just recently the death of Michael Jackson, it was interesting for me to watch how much on the same page the whole world really is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't realize until something of that magnitude had happened that really the whole world
comes
and I think
together.
It's probably due to the World Wide Web more so than anything else.
Absolutely.
But it was interesting for me to see just how in touch with what's really going on in the world.
And it takes
really
great
is.
loss to come together. It's unfortunate. I mean, that's it takes disaster and
So
things
it's
like
not
that.
a loss at all,
No.
really. It's actually a gain.
And I love the acts called the internet the Godnet.
Today.
Yeah, it's the
Awesome.
Godnet because it's like, okay, so it'll have its negativity there because people spend too much time on the computer and don't get into their life. But exactly Michael Jackson, it joins people together in a harmonious way. They can grieve together, they can talk together, they can have their opinion. In Lakota Indians, it's called a homatakuyasan in their language. It means we're all one. We're all relatives. The theory of the butterfly flapping, you can feel it in another part of the world. Metaphor, but no, powerful, because it is, you're interconnected. And our frequency is like the web. It's exactly the same. It's just like you start vibrating in a field.
Heal the world, make it a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. There are need for none if you care enough for living. Make a better place for you and for me. Heal the world.
And I think that with the internet and the way it is, I think that is truly going to be a part of the catalyst of that morphogenic resonance changing for sure. Yeah, especially what you guys are doing, and people have the opportunity. I mean, there's really no excuse for ignorance.
Yeah.
There is ignorance. That's another topic. We'll have to do
But
it.
it's just a level, really.
Yeah. I mean, you have opportunity. I think humanity. I was in a yoga kind of retreat a few weeks ago, and the teacher said, we were talking about in the premise of doing your practice and keeping your practice going, because I do Ashtanga and it's a self-practice that you do, you don't go to classes. And he said, there's just, you have to be careful of too many choices. And it's so true. It's just like we have too many choices that can take you off. Even too many spiritual choices can take you off course. And you start diversing into other directions. And while you're diversing, maybe you need to stay there and look deeper at something. Too many choices.